Salvador Dali is burning. Mentre che tutto in lui vede metaccio, guardomi e con le mani sparse il petto, dicendo, or vedi com io mi dilaccio. Vedi come storpiato e mi ammetto. Dinanzi a me san va piangendo a lì, fisso nel volto del mento al ciuffetto. That's a quote from Dante's Inferno, Canto 28, verse 28 to 33. Sometimes life writes itself like a poem. Images align like planets, ironies stack up like burnt offerings. The day after I told my mother I was gay, she lit a fire, told me to burn my diary, my Salvador Dali postcards. Amongst them was the burning giraffe. She thought the image was cruel. This giraffe, its back and neck on fire, only someone out of their mind could make such a thing. So, half out of her mind herself, she built a fire in an earthenware oven, and in it went. My mother has always been half out of everything. She barely saw her father, an emigrant from Pakistan. When she was called Hussein, she was called half-caste. When he died, she changed her name to that of her half-sister, cast half of herself away. She and my father divorced when I was 3. She brought me up alone. Always wanted a brother or sister for me, but I remained an only child. I think for her, realizing she would never have blood grandchildren was too much incompleteness. So burning the burning giraffe symbolically bound her fears together with fire. My boyfriend has a Dali lithograph mounted in our lounge, on the part of the room where the fire used to be. It is from Dali's illustrations of the Inferno. This one is Muhammad, unrecognizably disfigured, twisted into a bizarre shape, tormented in hell. But really it is a self-portrait, a mustacheless Dali. My boyfriend says Dali only ever painted self-portraits. He knows about things like that. To me, it is a memory of how I felt for 5 years. Now I look at it on the wall, a Dali, an original Dali, belonging to the man I love, hanging on a chimney flue where no fire will be lit again, and it looks to me like closure. So, next I'm going to read from my debut poetry collection, which is a tiny, cutesy little thing. This is published by Ampersand, and I just want to show it to you because I was so chuffed with how they put this together. It functions as a map. So it's essentially one long poem, but it can be read in any order, so the idea is that you just go through the page and read it in the order that you'd like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask for some volunteers to give me numbers between 1 and 15? Yeah, 1 and 15.
13. 6.
4.
Oh. I love your eagerness, that's brilliant, thank you. But no, one at a time. Okay, so you said 1, what did you say?
4.
4, okay, so number 4 is, this is a quote from The Monkey Song, which is a folk song from Hartlepool. They tried every move to make him speak, they tortured the monkey till loud he did squeak. Says yon, that's French, says another, it's Greek. For the fisherman had got drunk-io. He's all o'er hair, some chap did cry, in up to stomach cute and sly. With a cod said then they closed an eye, a 4 they hung the monkey-o. Another number.
6.
5 and 6, okay. We're going very in order.
12.
I'm going to do 6, then 5, then 12, okay? 6. When I was 7, I realized I had an accent. That everyone around me had an accent. That Scunthorpe people didn't sound like people on the radio or the TV. The voices on the TV were nicer, so I tried to sound more like them. At school I got called Posh Boy. They asked me if I was gay. I said I wasn't. I study ragas as though they were a photo album, as though the Datuta Vardani or the Sarasangi will evoke music I did not hear in the womb. 12. What's your accent? You don't sound like you're from Scunthorpe. Where are you from? No, I mean originally. Oh, you've got flat A's. Say bath. Say grass. Say nasty. Say bastard. Say half-caste. Say class. Another number, please.
16.
16. Oh, wait, no, that's the back cover.
8.
13 and 8. Okay. He stops on Avenue Clamart, filming us from his car. Can you let go of his hand, please? I have to ask him to repeat himself. Can you let go of his hand, please? We'll have none of that round here. I move closer, ask him to repeat again. Can you let go of his hand, please? We'll have none of that round here. I tell him no. He laughs and drives away. Through the rear window, I see he has 2 children in the back. What was the other number? Someone said 8. On my mother's side, the Pakistani immigrant I never met. On my father's, Saxon monks, iron ore, biplanes. Until I was 10, my dreams floated in the sounds in between 2 worlds. I won't redo the whole thing, because otherwise you won't buy it. But I'll just read you the first one as well. I misremember the sounds of hall trains in the nights of my childhood as a Tana. Thank you, I've got one more. I have it, so Takeout is going to be expanded into a bigger piece that will be read in a sort of order, with longer prose pieces exploring this thing of identity and so on and so forth. So I'd like to tell you just a little bit about that before reading you one of the new poems that will be in the next editions. So meaning prop or support, the Teka is a set of improvisatory rhythms outlining the tala, or the rhythmic structure of a piece of Hindustani music, the music of North India and Pakistan. My father emigrated from Pakistan in the 1950s, not long after the partition. I was told many contradictory stories. He was Indian, he was Pakistani. He left before the partition because he didn't want to live in an Islamic state. He left after the partition because he didn't want to live in an Islamic state. He left before or after the partition because he wanted to come to England. Maybe he had relatives here already. Maybe he didn't. My grandfather became a secret myth. Secret because my mother had changed her name at 16 when he died from Hussein to my grandmother's previous married name, Gibson. She didn't tell anyone about where her father was from, or if she did, she perceived them looking at her differently. Her hair as black as fennel flower, her almond eyes, her olive skin. No longer were her features mysterious and exotic, they were unpalatably Indian. She tells me not to tell people that I'm part Pakistani. When I came out as gay, she read my diary to see if my piano teacher was molesting me. He wasn't. He just had the air of a child molester. He had a lot of cats. My diary contained fantasies about boys I liked, along with explanatory diagrams. She kept me home one day to burn it. She burned my collection of Salvador Dali postcards too because she thought they were fucking up my head. She's not a bad person, I have to say. She just believes that you can erase things that you can't. It took me 5 years for her to stop asking why I needed to tell people about my sexuality, to stop saying I had a chip on my shoulder, to stop saying, when you get married to a woman, which became to a woman or a man, which became to a man, or maybe even a woman, which finally became to a man. My boyfriend actually doesn't want to get married, so we won't be doing that, so sorry, Mum. This is such a gay stereotype as well, I just got up here and talked endlessly about my mother. But anyway, she couldn't understand my experience of being a gay man, and I couldn't understand her experience of being half Pakistani. So I'd tell her she should be proud of her heritage, and she'd say she wasn't proud of being straight, so why was I proud of being gay? And it went back and forth like this for quite a long time. The only time our experiences converged in any kind of meaningful way was when we were watching a TV drama and 2 women kissed. My mother turned away from the television suddenly, exclaiming something, the way she did if we were watching a horror movie and someone suddenly got hit in the head with an axe. We argued into the early hours until I asked how she would feel if someone turned away like that if they saw a white person and a brown person kissing. And after years of not understanding my sexuality, in that one moment, it all seemed to make sense to her. And things have been a lot better since then. And so, because all of that happened, I decided that I was going to start exploring my Pakistani heritage a bit more. And this is one of the poems about that kind of pull that you feel to a heritage you've not really experienced or been connected to, but you just feel it inside you. It's called Green Cardamom. Every time I am on the herbs and spices aisle, I stop to buy green cardamom. My mind turns over ways I could use it: cardamom flatbread, cardamom jelly, ginger and cardamom biscuits, cardamom cake, cardamom carrots, cardamom tea. As I reach out, my hand stops. I think of the almost full jar at home, the small ground up pile in the mortar on the side. My hand floats in midair. I do not know how to use it, always too much or too little. I've never been taught how to pair it with anything. Hadn't even tried it until my mid-20s. But when I grind it, when there is only me and the seeds of green cardamom, I feel joyfully fraudulent, like a child sneaking into his father's room to put on oversized shirts and too wide ties. The scent is too big, too roomy, like too much cotton. It makes me feel small and uncertain. But its aroma is atavistic as my mother's perfume. It fragrances my dreams, lingers at the back of my throat, like a language I don't understand, like the memory of something that never happened. I put the little jar in my basket, nestle it between baked beans and brown bread. Thank you very much.